I held a game jam where everyone had to make a game using the same art assets. It's based off my series where I get 3 other game developers and we each make a game using the same art kit. Now, I wasn't planning to join this jam, but a bunch of people reached out to me and asked if I was going to do it as well, and I realized that me participating is kind of a big part of the series and that people were probably looking forward to making a game alongside me. However, I was pretty busy with other projects at the time, so I had to say no. I was lying, of course. Kind of an ugly title screen, but I guess that's alright for a jam. Wait, what's that? Does anyone else see that? There's like base 64 code at the bottom there. Hang on. Y3J. Created by Mrs. What? What? Did I make a secret account and participate in the jam under this secret account and then submit it so I wouldn't have any bias in the ratings? What? And not tell anyone? So yeah, I made a game called 10 Seconds to Zombie Apocalypse. You have 10 seconds to gather fuel and weapons and escape before a massive zombie horde appears. Killing zombies gives you points you can use to buy upgrades in between levels. It's very minimal, but I think it came out really fun, and it seems like you guys agree because I got 4th place in engagement and 11th place overall. Alright, let's check out the top 10 entries. Raindrop is an atmospheric platformer where you dive into a lake and explore an underwater dungeon to find items to upgrade your character. Every time you find something new, you're teleported back to the start and a new area of the dungeon is unlocked. It's a polished little experience with lots of nice effects that give it very aesthetic, minimalistic visuals. I typically hate platformers and dodging spikes, but this game has a really nice movement physics underwater that made it enjoyable to play. Overall, very solid experience with a great sense of progression. Minigame Madness is a WarioWare style game. There's a bunch of different simple minigames you play through, and the more you beat, the harder it gets. There's 9 games in total, and they're all pretty creative and well made. Plenty of variety in the challenges, though I do feel like the difficulty varies a lot between them. Like Fish Eater is a lot easier than Chicken Road. Also, the games use different control schemes, which gets confusing. Sometimes you use spacebar, sometimes arrow keys. It's definitely something you have to play a few times to get comfortable with. I think the game is pretty fun, but could use a better goal state than just winning 20 games in a row. Maybe a leaderboard where you can see everyone's high scores and try to beat them. But besides that, it is a good game and definitely earned the #1 spot in engagement. Minor Inconvenience is a puzzle game with a lot of story. You are a miner traveling on a rocket when you accidentally knock out the pilot and break the autopilot system. So the ship's AI starts crashing into random planets so you can gather materials to repair it. The core mechanic is pretty simple but has a bit of strategy. You tunnel around inside a planet gathering gems and try not to destroy the planet by doing too much mining. This game is very good looking. The planet's visuals and tunnel effects look great, and a lot of work went into cutscenes and story with little animations on the characters as they talk and elaborate landing and travel sequences. Some minor nitpicks I had were that each planet has the same size health bar, so you have no way of knowing how much you can mine when you start a new level, and the landing sequence playing every time you restart gets old quick when you're struggling with a level. But besides that, it is a really well made game. Town Folks is a combination of town building and party-based dungeon crawling. In your town, you build and upgrade structures, which let you recruit more people, have a bigger party size, and upgrade stats of different classes. At the end of each day, you go dungeon crawling and fight through groups of enemies to earn money and unlock new areas until you reach the final boss. I really enjoyed this game. It's my personal favorite from the jam, and I ended up playing it for an hour and a half on the post-jam livestream. The mechanics are simple but easy to get into and lend themselves to a lot of playtime, and the visuals are super polished with extremely nice AI, and it's just a really good game. Book of Faces is a sort of deck building, dice rolling combat game. It has an awkward learning curve thanks to a wall of text tutorial, but once you start figuring it out, it's pretty fun. You have a set of dice where each dice has different effects on each face, like increasing damage or defense, healing you, buffing you, that kind of thing. Then you want to roll and get the right amount of attack and defense to kill an enemy without taking damage. You get a few rerolls and you can lock in different faces, and there's a fair amount of strategy, but I feel like it would have been better if mechanics were introduced a little slower. You seem to get all the effects possible right off the bat, and it's hard to understand what a good strategy for choosing your dice would be until you've already made it through a lot of the game. The main selling points for this game are its incredible polish and clever use of art assets. There's just so much atmosphere in it. You really feel like you're delving into some hellish alternate dimension even though you're just looking at dice and simple animated enemies. I think if the difficulty curve was polished up, this would be a really fun game. Line is a really simple but clever game. You hold space to move along a line and avoid different obstacles. It has very difficult levels but quick restarts. I liked the variety in obstacles. It kept introducing new challenges which kept the game fresh. I feel like if any of the mechanics had been used more, then they would have gotten stale quick, but they were used the perfect amount. I had a few minor nitpicks, like the hitboxes were a little too big and the transformation animations should be quicker, but it's really good and really fun. A lot of people said this would make a great mobile game, and I completely agree. Chain of Terror is a procedurally generated solitaire puzzle game thing. I've never really played solitaire, so I struggled with this one. The strategy is to chain cards together to try to get as long of a path as possible for your character to travel on so you get the most points possible. There's only one level per attempt, but this is combined with a leaderboard so you can compete with others to get the most points, which I think was a really cool addition. Personally, I think it would have been better if there was less randomness, like having multiple smaller levels, maybe with predetermined cards, and just gradually increase the difficulty over time. Something to make it more forgiving and less RNG based. I don't know if I'm really qualified to review this though, since again I haven't really played solitaire, but I can say it has a lot of polish and animations and sound design, and people in the comments seem to like it a lot. Shout out to this Chris for completely power gaming it with spreadsheets. Symmetry is a super beautiful puzzle game where you have two mirror dimensions and you can rotate one of them and lock it in place to solve puzzles. There's some very clever puzzles in it that make you feel really smart solving, but I feel like overall they were way too hard, and it would have been better if there were a bunch of easy and medium difficulty levels mixed in to give a more smooth difficulty curve. There are also a lot of mechanics I would have liked to see explored more. I feel like every level introduced a new mechanic, and there were cool mechanics, but they just weren't used as much as I think they should have. But besides that, this game was super polished, the mechanics are really cool, and I think this is definitely something worth turning into a full game. Hellgrinder is a fast-paced Wolfenstein-like FPS. It has fun combat and very polished visuals. Look at those animations when you pick up a weapon. Enemies have clear telegraphing and are fun to fight, except if you're fighting the wizards with a melee weapon, it's pretty hard to avoid their attacks. There are also secrets scattered around the level to find, and at the end a shop where you can buy some items before the final boss fight. The boss animates really well, and I like how its heads fall off to show off how much damage you've done, but I also feel like it would have been a funner fight if the boss had its own attacks instead of just summoning minions to fight you. Also, there's no checkpoints, and it gets pretty annoying replaying the entire game if you die. But this is a very well made game and has a lot of polish and good design in it, and very good entry overall. Monster Casino is a poker fighting game. You live in hell and Satan just raised rent, so now you have to make enough money by playing poker to be able to afford to pay it. The visuals and sound design are incredible. There's fun characters and dialogue, there's cutscenes. It's just a very polished experience. The only problem for me was that I've never really played poker, so I had to rely on the live stream chat telling me what to do. And thankfully you can cheat. You have an ability that lets you see opponents' cards, but you have to be careful not to use it too much or security will see you. There's more layers of strategy than just playing poker. But yeah, I really like this game and I think it's super well made. Thank you to everyone who participated. This jam turned out way better than I expected, and it was fun jamming along with all of you. I'll see you in the next one. I did a live stream playing the top entries. I'll link that below. I also plan to do more live streams playing other top entries. I'll put those in a playlist there as I do them. Also, be sure to check out all the devs. A lot of them made devlogs showing the behind the scenes of their games. I'll link those below along with their games.